is water crisis and the need for conservation. One of the India's largest cities, Chennai, is dealing with a crippling crisis. It has run out of water. The four lakes that supply the capital of the southern state of Tamil Nadu have dried up. Together, they contain just 1% of the volume they did last year. This shows the crippling water crisis Chennai is facing. Since water conservation is an important topic, we can expect a question for 2019 mains. According to a Niti Aayog report, 600 million Indians face high to extreme water stress and about 2 lakh people die every year because of inadequate access to safe water. And the same report has said that 21 Indian cities will run out of groundwater by next year. By 2030, the country's water demand is projected to be twice the available supply, implying severe water scarcity and eventual 6% loss in country's GDP. This is the impact the water crisis is going to happen if we don't conserve the water, at least now. Then the question arises, but why a water surplus country is facing water crisis today? First one is over-exploitation of groundwater. India is the biggest user of groundwater. It extracts more groundwater than the US and China together. But why a water surplus country is facing water crisis today? These are the reasons for the existing crisis the country is having with respect to water. The first one is over-exploitation of groundwater. India is the biggest user of groundwater. It extracts more groundwater than US, the next biggest pullers of groundwater combined. And groundwater forms the largest share of Indian agriculture and drinking water supply. So 89% of this groundwater is used for irrigation, 9% for household as well as 2% for the industry. And this contributes 50% of urban requirement and 85% of rural domestic requirement. So if at all a scarcity of groundwater comes, then all these sectors are going to get affected. As per report by Central Groundwater Commission, this has led to reduction in the 61% in groundwater level between 2007 and 2017. The report prepared under the Ministry of Water Resources cited rapid urbanization, rising population and inadequate rainfall are the reasons for sharp decline in this groundwater. The second reason for the existing water crisis is unequal distribution and availability. It is estimated that 81% of all households have access to 40 liters of water per day, whereas 18 to 20% of rural households have access for piped water supply. This has created mismatch in water availability and supply. And even with these pipes, the water is not properly distributed, that is not evenly distributed. While mega cities like Delhi and Mumbai gets 150 LPCD, that is liters per capita per day, and the others get just 40 to 50 LPCD. And this 40% of piped water in India is lost due to leakage. Arithmetically, India is still water surplus country, and according to Central Water Commission, India needs 3000 billion cubic meters a year, whereas through rainfall we are getting 4000 billion cubic meters. So why we are facing this scarcity? Because the problem is India captures just 8% of its annual rainfall. The reasons for it are traditional modes of water capturing in ponds is lost due to increasing population. That is, with the increasing in population, people are encroaching these wetlands and liberal town planning rules. So recently the Prime Minister has asked all Gram Pradhans to go for rainwater harvesting to save every drop of rain. And poor record in treatment and reuse of household water. India has been poor in treatment and reuse of household water. About 80% of the water reaching households in India are drained out as waste flow through sewage to pollute other water bodies, including rivers and land. Here we can take the example of Israel. Israel, a country that is located in desert and has learned to deal with water crisis situation. So Israel model of water conservation is very essential for India. Then law regulating groundwater. This is the other reason. Easement Act of 1882 gives every landowner the right to collect and dispose groundwater and surface water within his/her own limits. Is still in operation, and this water falls under state list of constitution. Only states can frame the law. Even though central government has published a model bill for groundwater management, but all the states have not passed a matching legislation. So the law regulating the groundwater, which gives the right for the owner of the land to extract water, is one of the main reasons for the declining of groundwater. We should remember that the resources meant for public use cannot be converted into private ownership. So there is a need to amend this law. And the loss of wetlands and water bodies. Almost every single city and village in the country has lost its wetlands, water bodies, and even rivers to encroachment to meet the needs of rising population. According to the report by Wildlife Institute of India, 70 to 80% of freshwater marshes and lakes in the Gangetic floodplains were lost. So then what are the steps to be taken? Many states have already taken the path-breaking work, such as Telangana's Bhagirathi project, Maharashtra Jalayukt Abhiyan, and Andhra Pradesh Neeru Chettu. So there is a need to emulate these models across India to conserve the water and to prevent the water crisis. And the creation of Ministry of Jal Shakti by merging Ministries of Water Resources, River Development, Ganga Rejuvenation and Drinking Water is much needed integrated approach for India's water issues. So the Prime Minister has taken the right step to create a Ministry of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. And awareness among general public about the significance of storing, recycling and reusing of water. This is the most important step, that is bringing awareness among the general public. And the revival of traditional water harvesting systems. We can use the social media to popularize these systems. Traditional water harvesting systems like Jalaras, zinc, babolis, all these should be revived so that we save every drop of rainwater. And NGOs plus CSR, the combination of NGOs and corporate social responsibility can bring about great impact in bringing awareness and effective implementation of conservation projects through involvement of community participation. And user charges, water cess will some extent prevent the misuse of water. Since soil conservation is crucially linked to water conservation, afforestation can also be a part of the strategy. Floodplains, water bodies, lakes must be protected from encroachment. The onus lies on every citizen of India. So there is a need to bring awareness among the citizens, and there is a need to protect about these floodplains, water bodies and lakes to prevent them from encroachment. State governments and related bodies must take effective steps to prevent illegal constructions as well as sand mining to prevent the water crisis and revival of groundwater. A rapidly urbanizing and developing India needs dot proof of its cities and rationalizing its farming. We are growing water intensive crops and climate suitable crops are not grown because of these irrigation facilities. So there is a need to grow less water intensive crops based on the agroclimatic conditions. So a rapidly urbanizing and developing India needs to drought proof its cities as well as rationalize its farming, and water harvesting must be a priority alongside mechanisms for groundwater replenishment. As it is, every summer is hot and unbearable. If Indians run short of water as well, one of the world's most populous nations could well become unviable. So there is a need to make our cities drought proof as well as go for rationalize of farming, and we should make water harvesting as a priority. And so these are the necessary steps to prevent water crisis, because there is no time left to wait further. Hope this video is helpful. Thank you and all the best.